Hey guys, it's Sam Hamwich, and we're back with another video. I really hope you enjoy this one. It should be lots of fun. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you do like the content, because there's going to be a lot more uploads as well. If you love watching this kind of stuff live, make sure you check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Sam Hamwich. Enjoy, everybody. Today's video is going to be covering out some great ways to farm some blood points. And more importantly, how to do it quickly and, with your fingers crossed here, hopefully easily. I'm going to cover one specific strategy from each side. So one from killer and one from survivor. Just in case you're maybe uncomfortable playing one side or the other. I may have a little bit bad news for those of you who may be a survivor mains, though. It is a bit easier and more consistent to farm blood points with the killer. But don't worry, I will have some tips on how to perhaps up your game a little bit as survivor in terms of earning the blood points. So it's still dependent on your performance, of course, but hopefully we can max the amount of blood points that you're going to get in a match to help you farm some of that. So anyway, moving on, the first thing I want to get into is with the killer. So some people may have saw a few perks and whatnot that increase your blood points. You might think that's a really good idea, but I need to explain something first about farming blood points, okay? So the first thing that I kind of want to cover is the fact that there is 4 different categories that you can earn points in. And the reason I'm going to mention that right now, we'll get into detail a little bit later in the video, but right now I want to mention those 4 categories because you can only get 8,000 points per match in each of those categories. Now that's important because it won't let you go over those 8,000. And when you pick your perks, you might look at something like Distressing, where it says, ooh, gain 100% more blood points for actions in the deviousness category. Okay, well that's good, right? You want to get 100%, that's double your points. Might seem like a good idea, but let me explain to you why a few of these aren't good, and maybe one of these are, okay? So the first 3 that I want to cover is kind of Distressing, Beast of Prey, and Thrill of the Hunt. Thrill of the Hunt, as you can see here, one of the benefits of this perk is to gain 10% more blood points for actions. That's key right there in the Hunter category for each token. Beast of Prey, gain 50% more blood points for actions in the Hunter category. Distressing, again, 100% blood points in the action in the deviousness category. Now let's take a look at Barbecue and Chili, though. You're looking at Barbecue and Chili, and if you read it, you get some benefits for spotting survivors when you hook them. However, you also gain, each time you hook a survivor for the first time, you gain a 25% stackable bonus to all blood points gained, up to a maximum of 100%. The key point of this is the bonus blood points are only awarded post-trial. So that means you literally get, for every unique hook in that match you get 25% extra blood points at the end total. So essentially, if you max out 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, you get 32,000 blood points at the end of the match. If you've got that many points, you've hooked each survivor at least once. So you're going to get 100% more, so you're actually going to get 64,000 blood points at the end of the trial. And if we go back to these, because it says blood points for actions, what this is only going to let you do is get those blood points faster, but only up to the 8,000. They're not awarded post-trial, so you can literally just double your blood points for all of your actions in the deviousness, and which I'll explain later exactly how to get those points. But these are why my recommendation is to avoid these particular types of perks, because for one, they're not really that good perks, and 2, those points never go over the 8,000 max. The only one that does is Barbecue and Chili. As I said, this one's key to farming blood points as killer for sure. The first one here, as you can see right up here, is brutality. This one is when you hurt survivors, so when you hit them in a chase, as well as you also get 100 points whenever you kick a generator or if you break a pallet as well. You'll get 300 points when you do hit a survivor, which is kind of nice as well. The next category that I want to get into is deviousness. So generally, this is one of the more harder ones to get on a lot of killers. And that's because you get the points when you use your killer power. So depending on which killer you are, depends on exactly how many points you get for each action. So you get a little bit of points, for example, with Pyramid Head here, you get a little bit of points when you dig a little trench, as well as hitting targets with your Judgment. You'll get extra points for that. As well, you get a bonus at the end of the match of 2,500 blood points if you happen to kill all 4 survivors, which this one here, 2 of them got away, actually, on this match here. So, as you can see, I just got under 4,000 points in that one. The next one that we want to go over is the Hunter one. So, this one here, generally, doesn't really matter which killer you play. For the most part, you'll get a lot of hunting points. So, you get them from chasing, capturing the survivors, anything like that, especially the chasing, finding the survivors, stuff like that. The chase, of course, the points are determined on how long the chase is. So the longer the chase, the more points that you'll end up getting for it. Don't mix this up with the emblems for ranking up. The points really... Some of these points don't relate exactly to an emblem. This one here, the chase one, like I said, you get more points if the chase is longer. However, you won't get as much on the emblem. So don't worry so much about ranking up in emblems. We're just talking about blood points here. All right, but make sure you get that chase and they don't get away, or else you'll lose those chase points. Okay, and the final category is sacrifice. You will get points in this category each time that you hook a survivor, as well as sacrificing them to the entity on their final hook as well. That gets you the same points for the sacrifice. Just keep in mind, while you might think Mori might make you win the match a little quicker, okay, you want to make sure that you get 3 hooks on each survivor to maximize your points for this one, okay? Sometimes this is a little bit hard, just because the position you're in doesn't allow you to get hooks. If the survivors end up killing themselves on the hook or anything like that, it can also affect your points. So, to get the max amount of points, you got to make sure that you don't go too brutal on the survivors that you make them want to quit. So, playing a killer like Pyramid Head, I find... people generally don't find him too OP for the most part, especially when I'm playing him. So playing a killer that's not too strong with too hard of add-ons may affect that score. As well as, for example, if you play the Huntress and you use iridescent heads and you're one-shotting people with your Huntress, they're probably going to DC or give up on the hook against you. But anyway, guys, that's the 4 categories of points for the killer. Now for the next question. There is a slew of killers in this game. Sam, which killer should I play to get the blood points? I'm really good at the Huntress. I can get lots of points with the Huntress. Yeah, you probably can, but I just want to go over probably the easiest way that you're going to get these points. Now, for that, there's 2 killers that I recommend. One is the Doctor, which we'll get into here in a moment. And then the other one is the Legion. So these 2 here, I find they're really easy to get points with. One, the Doctor, he gets points whenever he shocks somebody, and then you get extra points if you shock them, then you hit them. However, he also has Static Blast now, which affects people in a large radius. So that also you can hit, 2, 3, even sometimes all 4 survivors, and you get points for each survivor hit. So I find with the Doctor, he can rack up points super fast. So if you're not a super strong killer, this is probably the one that I'm going to recommend because you can max out deviousness pretty quickly with that, and then you're just going to get chase points, and you're just going to get your sacrifice points the more that you fight the survivors. So you might have a little bit difficulty if you are in the red ranks with him. He's a little bit harder to play. He's still a good killer, but he's a little more technical with when you have to time your shocks, so on and so forth. But he's a really good killer. One of my top recommended for blood point earning. The next one here is the Legion. He's one of my favorites as well for blood point earning. With him, I like him because you're fast to go around to all the survivors. You can bounce around, win those chases, get those chases in. He's pretty quick to hit. It doesn't matter. The game doesn't differentiate a hit from like just hitting them with your thing, and then if you hit the same survivor again, you're good for getting the same amount of points. While you don't get the benefit of, you know, extending your power by hitting the same survivor, it still counts as blood points, and it'll still count as deviousness because you've hit him with your power. So I find he's really good killer if you're interested in rapid hitting and bouncing around the map a lot. I find he's a little more effective at the higher ranks. I find myself, I'm a much better Legion player than I am Doctor, so he's probably my top choice for playing in higher ranks. So guys, those are the two killers that I want to go into. I'm going to show you some examples on what you should do next, but for that, we're just going to pick the Doctor and we're going to move on. All right, now we are going to get into the perks that we should be playing. So we went over basically how there are some perks that allow you to earn extra blood points, but I didn't recommend those. What I do recommend, however, like I said earlier, is barbecue and chili. This is a must-have for farming blood points. What it lets you do is essentially double all blood points that you did in that match at the end of the match. So you'll get double the blood points. So this is a must-have. Plus, the actual perk is pretty good as well. So it'll let you locate survivors when you put one on a hook. You can find the other ones, and which can help you, especially as the Doctor, get into the vicinity where there may be a survivor, so you can use your static blast to try to locate them or whatever, and what have you. The next one, now the next three are actually up to you. Whatever you want to play. I recently prestiged the Doctor, so I don't have like massive amount of choice of perks. So as you can see right here, I'm just running Surveillance to hopefully benefit from having Ruin. So that way I'm able to tell, okay, so they were just on that gen, I should go over to there, maybe Static Blast to find them. I kind of like perks that allow me to move around the map fast, like identify where I have to go next to try to locate those survivors as fast as I can to get those points. Get those blood points. So as you can see, I just chose Surveillance. Pop goes the Weasel for when Rune goes down, just to extend that game a little bit longer. I want to have a nice long game with him to get the max amount of blood points possible. So that's why I use Ruin. So if I can chase survivors off of generators, perfect. They're going to run away with Ruin. Surveillance will let me know if they go back on it. If they do, if I'm unlucky, they do find Hex Rune pretty fast. I've got Pop Goes the Weasel, which is pretty good with barbecue anyway. So if you hook a survivor, take a look around, see possibly somebody on a generator, then maybe you'll know which area to go to use Pop Goes the Weasel. So as far as that goes, that are the perks that I would recommend. With add-ons, whatever floats your boat. Try not to use any add-on that's too overpowered, just so the survivors don't want to play. Again, you want those survivors to go through each hook stage to get the most points. You want those chases to be pretty long so you can get nice good points, you know, and it's fun for the survivors too. So just keep that in mind. But again, some of the killers do have add-ons that kind of weaken them, give them a handicap in the game, but they earn more blood points. But again, those are for the actions, so they only increase to 8,000 maximum anyway, so I totally don't recommend it. So as far as offerings go, now on the Doctor here, I think I've used all my Bloody Party streamers, which we'll go into a minute exactly what those are, and Survivor Pudding. So I've just chosen this. Hollow Shell grants 25 bonus blood points in all categories, and it stacks. So if somebody else uses an offering that adds blood points to all people in the match, it will stack with this. And these ones here are actually added on at the end of the match as well. So similar to barbecue and chili, hollow shell is at the end of the match as well. And you can see that it will total up at the end. So I'll show you, I believe on Ghostface, we have a few add-ons here. He was another one that I recently Prestige 3, so he should, yeah, I haven't even used them since. These are absolutely the best ones. Everybody loves it when people play the Bloody Party streamers. So as you can see here, grants 100% bonus blood points in all categories for all players. So essentially, if you are so lucky, everybody uses this and you'll get 500%. One from every person, 4 survivors, plus the killer. They'll all stack together and everybody will get 500% blood points in that match. Now, I've never seen that. I've had 3 and I think maybe even a match with 4 before. And the end result is 200,000 plus blood points at the end of the match, usually, if you do well. So it can get quite out of control. Not quite a 250,000, but just over 200,000. I think I've maxed out. I know I just had a match with the doctor. There was one Bloody Party streamer used, and I used this offering, Survivor Pudding. Exactly the same result, but it's only for yourself. This one doesn't affect anybody else, but it still doubles your points. So with the doctor, one Bloody Party streamer, plus this, and barbecue and chili, and I was able to get about 140,000 as well. If you're lucky enough to be doing this on an event, like currently the Blood Rush is on, so you get 1.5 times blood points earned. That adds to the end total as well. So you could just be swimming in those blood points, especially as killer. So hopefully, guys, with that information, you're able to gather as much as you want. So what we'll do now is we'll switch from killer and we'll head on over to survivor. It really doesn't matter which survivor you choose. They're all the same. They run at the same speed. They do the same stuff. Especially once you've unlocked everyone's teachable perks, you can cross over to any survivor, bring any survivor's perks into their build, and you can do pretty much the same thing on any survivor. So it's almost personal choice. So I like playing Nia. She's my main. This is one of my favorite outfits with her. I don't know why, but it is. But anyway, like I said, none of that really matters in terms of blood point gathering. So I will let you know, though, that it is quite a bit harder to get the same amount of points and the same amount of speed as the killer. So the first thing I want to go over is we've got some perks chosen here. This is my favorite build for this. You don't necessarily need to do this. However, I believe that this is going to give you the most consistent results in a solo survivor queue in terms of blood points. Maybe not ranking up, but the blood points will let you gather quicker this way, in my opinion. Okay. So the first thing that I want to go over is the first perk that we're going to go over is We're Gonna Live Forever. This is very, 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 very similar to barbecue and chili. Okay. So this one here, again, gained 25% snackable bonus per token to all blood point gains up to a maximum of 100%. The bonus blood points are awarded post-trial. So exactly like barbecue and chili, but for survivors. Obviously, you're going to gather those tokens a little bit different because you can't put other survivors on the hook. So in order to get those perks, you're going to have to perform a safe hook rescue. That's one way to do that. Take a protection hit. Okay, which the best way to do that, the easiest way I should say, is just take a hit when the killer is carrying somebody and then run away really fast so they don't down you immediately. And that's probably the easiest way to get those protection hits. You can either rescue a survivor by stunning the killer with a pallet or the flashlight save. So basically making the killer drop the survivor that way. Okay, those will all get you a token. Most of the time you're going to get your tokens from performing a safe hook. Okay, so in order to ensure that, That's why we run borrowed time. Okay, so as long as you're in the killer's terror radius, except for maybe a few stealth killers may give you a difficult time with this, or Freddy, because he's a little bit annoying with this as well. But the good thing is, borrowed time basically gives the other survivor that you're unhooking endurance for 15 seconds once they've been unhooked in the killer's terror radius. Luckily, the safe hook is registered after 15 seconds, so they're never going to go down as long as you have borrowed time. If you're in the terror radius when you unhook them, then borrowed time will always give you that safe hook rescue, unless by some ungodly way they get hit with borrowed time using endurance and then get hit again. I don't think I've ever seen it, but, you know, solo queues is all we're going to say about that. All right. And then I also really recommend this perk here, Prove Thyself. Okay, it's a little bit harder to gain points as a survivor. I often find, you know, on average I come in around, if I've escaped, I usually come in around 24,000, 25,000 points. While killer is a lot easier to go up. So this one here I do recommend. This gives you 100% more blood points for the co-op action. So when you do stuff with another survivor, you're going to get double the blood points. Now, this only goes up to the 8,000 maximum. However, you're going to notice that if you can get your co-op action maxed pretty fast, then you really don't have to waste too much time on doing those type of stuff, and you can move on to maybe getting some altruism by unhooking the survivors, or running around the map and trying to distract the killer, or get in some long chases like that to get points elsewhere. So that's why I recommend Prove Thyself. If you're going for blood points, it's almost a must, in my opinion. And then the final one, I like to run Decisive Strike. Obviously, you can run whatever you want. I choose Decisive Strike just because often I've seen matches where you load in, and guess what? There is not a single obsession in the match. So the killer instantly knows nobody has DS. So if I gotta tunnel somebody, I can tunnel somebody, and there's no consequence to that. So I just run it in solo queues. If you're playing with friends, maybe only one of you guys needs Decisive, and then you can choose maybe an exhaustion perk if you like Dead Hard, or something that's gonna let you live a little bit longer. You can maybe even take Will Make It, so you can heal faster. So if that way, if you safe unhook somebody and they're far away, the killer's far away, you can use Will Make It and just heal them nice and fast, and get some extra points that way. So it's completely up to you, but like I said, I run DS because I don't want my game to end super fast. So if I do end up getting tunneled, at least I have that little bit of extra chance to escape again. So those are the perks we got on. Same thing with like the add-ons don't really mean anything. You could use a toolbox if you want extra points. The flashlight, I think, is pretty good actually against a lot of killers. If you can get some blinds in at the pallets, it's going to give you extra points that way. You can max out your points pretty fast with the flashlight actually if they're chasing you behind some pallets. Again, I've used all the offerings on this survivor, but you normally would want to run the same one. Bloody Party Streamers here first, and then they don't have Survivor Pudding. The survivors have their own one. As you can see, we did a power switch over to Yui, and we have the Escape Cake. That's the same thing as the Survivor Pudding. And, of course, Bloody Party Streamers is good as well. So, as far as the other ones, you can use whatever one that you feel that you might be getting a little bit lagging behind on, just to boost your stats in that. So, these are awarded post-trials, so feel free to use whichever one you want. Obviously, for max, you want to go with your Party Streamers or the Escape Cake. Either one works. All right, guys, same thing for the survivors as killers, is there's 4 separate categories that we can get 8,000 points in each. The first one that I want to go over is objectives. So that's repairing your generators, and also you get some points for opening the exit gates at the end. a maximum of 8,000. That one's probably one of the easier ones to get, especially if you're using Prove Thyself, and I'll explain to you exactly why that does in a little bit. But yeah, so you can totally max objectives relatively easy in this game if you're not chased the whole time. The next one is Survival. As you can see here, I got 5,000 points because I happened to escape this match that we just played. So you get 5,000 points for escaping the match, which is the biggest chunk. And then the rest of the points actually come from things like struggling, healing yourself. Those will get you extra points in that, but it's one of the more harder ones to actually get quite a bit of points in, and that's why one of the reasons that I do recommend playing Killer over Survivors, because some of these are actually quite hard to get, and they also not only depend on your skill, they depend on the other survivors, which can be a little bit frustrating at times as well. So the next category is altruism. This is what you get for helping other survivors. So your biggest chunk comes from rescuing survivors off the hook. So you'll get a bunch of points for that, as well as if they don't go immediately down, you'll get additional points for safe hook rescue. Healing as well also counts towards altruism. So when you heal your other team, you'll get points for that as well. And then the last one has to do pretty much with interacting with the killer. So you'll get points for chases, you'll get points for pallet stuns, you'll get points for vaulting, you'll get points for using the flashlight on the killer, getting a blind on the killer. If it's a trapper and you disarm their trap, you'll get points for that. If you sabotage the hooks as well, you can get points that way as well. So maybe if you're not so good at chases and you want to get that boldness up, you can bring sabotage perk, and whenever you get a chance, you can just go sabotage a hook, and it can give you some points for that, and then you can add up quite quickly probably. So the reason that I did want to mention Prove Thyself is because what that does is that perk, as I'll show you here, gain 100% more blood points for co-op actions. And if we go back here, you don't really see co-op as one of the categories, because that is, depending on what action you do, it counts as co-op if you do it with another survivor. If you do it with 2 survivors, you get more, and the rare occasion that you can do something with 3 other survivors will even get more points for that. But depending on what you're doing, so if you're healing somebody, your co-op points that you earn will go towards your altruism. And if you guys are working on a generator together, then your co-op points that you gather will be stacked onto objective. So that's how the co-op points work. They actually get stacked onto whatever type of action that you're doing. So that's the best way to get as many points as you can there, and hopefully you understand those categories a little bit after that explanation. Anyway, guys, I really hope that information helps you. I'm glad to provide that. It's really good to boost those blood points, especially when a new killer comes out, or if there's an event going on. It's always nice to get a lot of blood points squeezed out during those events. But thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out here. And that's all, folks. Thank you very much.